All right, Eagles, here we go. We're working at AP College Board number 2011, number 3. Okay, it's on Google Classroom, the 2 I'm going to work today with you. What I want you to do is go through this with me, work it, write it down, all the work, everything you see, write it down. Take your time, go back, pause it, do whatever it takes. I put some videos up there with Clifford and stuff, practice as well, help you out. There's a good chance something like this can show up as one of your the smaller question for the FRQ. All right, let's go. Here we go. When we look at this, remember, assets are what you own. This is a bank balance sheet, a T account. Liabilities are what you owe. So own, owe. Demand deposits are what people you put in a checking account. Okay. Owner's equity, you really don't have to worry about that. That's just something there with the shareholders and stuff put in. Okay. But when we talk about deposits, all that, we're focused on demand deposits. Required reserves, excess reserves, meaning extra cash that can loan out. No, they have 0. Loans, customer loans, they've loaned out $8,000 that the bank has loaned out, so they have those loans out there. The bank has also used this extra money, some of the money from here, to buy some bonds / securities, okay? And they put some money that was over here for fixing up the building and all that stuff, okay? All right, let's work the problem. A, based on Sewell's balance sheet, calculate the required reserve. So we look at our demand deposits are $10,000. Required, what's in the vault. Remember, the Fed sets the reserve requirement. So $2,000 of $10,000 is 20% or 0.2. Either way works. Okay? That's 20%. The Fed is saying you have to put 20% of demand deposits in the vault. Okay? You cannot loan that out unless it's an emergency. Something comes up, you have to loan it out, then they got to borrow if they need to. Okay? So hopefully you got that one right. All right, let's go to B. Suppose the Fed purchases $5,000 worth of bonds from Sewell. So right away, the Fed is buying bonds. They're buying bonds. They're buying $5,000, okay, worth of bonds from Sewell. What will be the change in the dollar value of each of the following immediately after the purchase? So the Fed's up here. The Fed is going to buy bonds, okay? The bonds are here. They're going to buy $5,000 worth of bonds. That leaves them with $2,000 here, okay? 5,000 now, that goes directly into the extra cash. Remember, Clifford said it on the earlier video, hopefully you watched it, when the Fed buys bonds, it's putting money directly, cash, into the excess reserves of the bank. Nothing has to go in the vault. That's the key. I know it's on that video there. Make sure you watch it. When the Fed buys bonds, cash, extra money for the banks to have. Okay? So let's look. What happened to excess reserves? It increased to $5,000. Okay? What happened to the demand deposits? Well, nothing. No change. Why? Why was there no change? Because the Fed is buying bonds from the bank. So those bonds go back, the paper goes back into the Fed, and the Fed just puts cash straight in. It's not like you or I making a deposit. It's putting money directly into the banks. It's actually happening in real time right now with all this stuff going on. Okay? All right, let's go to C. Calculate the maximum amount that the money supply. So right away, calculate money supply. Remember, on the video you just watched earlier, 1 over the reserve requirement is the change that the money supply can make. That's one of the money multiplier, okay? The money multiplier is 1 over the reserve requirement. So I know right away there's going to be a little math here. Can change the result of the $5,000 purchase of bonds by the Fed. So it doesn't say you have to figure out the multiplier, but you do. Okay? So what's the reserve requirement? Well, we found out it was 20%. So it's 1 over 20%, which is 1 over 0.2, okay? Which is 1 over 2 over 10, which is 1 over 5. The multiplier is 5, but they're not asking what the multiplier is. That's just part of the problem. So now, we know we identified the multiplier is 5 based on this reserve requirement. This is the money multiplier, okay? So, what's the maximum change the money supply can change as a result of the $5,000 purchase? Remember, nothing goes into reserves, required reserves, so it is $5,000, the bonds, times 5. The maximum change is $25,000. All right, here we go. So $25,000 is the maximum change. That's your answer. Okay? All right, when the Fed buys bonds, what will happen to the price of bonds in the open market? Explain. Okay, we know they're buying bonds, they're purchasing bonds. The price of bonds, remember there's an inverse relationship between interest rate and the price of bonds. So let me take this down here, okay? Now, what I know right away when the Fed buys bonds, here's the money market graph. Supply of money, demand of money, all that, right? Here's the nominal interest rate. We're going to get in detail about that down the road again. When the Fed buys bonds, it increases the money supply. Buy bigger, right? The interest rate was here. Now the interest rate is here. The interest rate decreased. So we know interest rate decreased. So the rule is, if the interest rate decreases, the price of bonds automatically increases. Okay? And there's a whole explanation. We talked about that throughout the year. Okay? But all you need to do, let's look at the question. When the Fed purchases bonds, what will happen to the price of bonds? First thing, price of bonds will increase because we got to explain it, when the money supply increases, okay, money supply increases, the interest rate, see the interest rate? Interest rate decreases. That's all you have to say. And to show you, okay, I know the focus might be tough here, okay? 1 point is earned for stating that the price of bonds will increase because the purchase of bonds increases the money supply, which decreases the interest rate, okay? I forgot to add, because the purchase of bonds increases the money supply. So there you go. Just remember, that's a 2-point question right there. If you can remember, when interest rates go down, bond prices go up. When interest rates go up, bond prices go down. And it just depends on the money supply. Okay? All right, we got one more question. Suppose that instead of the purchase of bonds by the Fed, an individual deposits, look back up here, they're depositing, you or I, this person here, is depositing the money into the bank. Okay, they got their cash. $5,000. They're putting $5,000 into the bank. Okay, into their checking account or demand deposit. Same thing. What is the immediate effect of the cash deposits on the M1 measure of the money supply? Remember, M1 is your demand deposits and reserves in the bank. So nothing, when you put in the money, okay, the immediate effect on the cash is not, it's just the same. There's no change in the money supply. You're just changing the composition. So it's not like when I put money in the bank, all of a sudden I just decrease the money supply, okay? Nothing changes. So the answer, what is the immediate effect of the cash deposit on the M1 measure of the money supply? There is no change. Now they didn't ask you to explain, but if you were to explain, you would just say it's changing composition, just categories, classification, something like that. There is no change, okay? No change in the money supply. The change in the money supply is when there is a loan that is made. That's when the money supply increases. Remember Pine Gulch? All right, guys, go through this. Make sure you write all this stuff down. Go through it. Watch those videos. I got one more to show you on this. Hopefully it will help you.